Thank you. Yeah, I really just wanted to come today and not talk about how to find all the money you need to accomplish your dreams, because I'm still searching for that. But instead, to talk about what it looks like and how it goes about to find the friends and the people and the communities that can come alongside you to see those dreams accomplished. So really just kind of, in essence, sharing my story of opening Rosebud Coffee, a social enterprise coffee shop opened about 5 months ago. So just to get this out of the bat, my plug for the coffee shop, we're in East Pasadena on Colorado. We're by the Vons, but on the south side of the street by Fetty's Furniture. Huge parking lot in the back, all the parking you can handle, and the space is massive. So we could host all of you and more. Maybe the next one sometime soon. But please come and visit. We'd love to have you check out the coffee shop. And what we do there, besides hosting community events and offering amazing coffee, we train and employ homeless and transitional-aged youth. And so really that's the story I want to tell, is how we came about opening our cafe. So as Michael said, pastor of a church here in Pasadena called Rose City Church. Came out to Pasadena about 8-9 years ago to reopen this church that had closed down. So there's no congregation there, just an empty building. But the first people I meet when I get there are actually youth sleeping in the church parking lot. So that was kind of my first, the first neighbors I met were just the youth. And they were coming over from Pasadena City College. Not all of them were students, some were, but they could go there, use the amenities, and then they needed a safe place to sleep at night. So they would come over to the church parking lot and stay there. And I didn't realize at the time that I think my main calling in life, as I've done now the church and the coffee side, is I just love helping people flourish. Just whatever it takes to come alongside, empower them, and get to that next level. Just to see someone flourish, I mean, that's what gets me going every single morning. And I didn't realize that at the time, but as soon as I met these young guys and gals that were sleeping at the church, I immediately doing whatever I could, as anyone else I think would, help them flourish. So we started finding some food. It was cold, so we found some jackets. We let them have their sleeping bags. And before long, all of a sudden, some tents popped up. At night, I would hear some drums. You could just see that cloud of smoke hanging over them. Bottles in the morning. So let's just say they were having the time of their life and they were flourishing. And I helped them do that. But then, of course, I'm getting the calls from the police department, from the neighbors, like, okay, pastor, what is going on over there? And I realized at that time that there's gotta be a better way to help the youth that are here in this parking lot flourish than just give them all the space in the world to do whatever they want and have the time of their life. So that set me on this side of trying to figure out, well, what way can I help and come alongside the youth and help them, make a transformation in their life. And so coming in to open this church, old church, they had bought this coffee cart. So it was just sitting in this church kind of fellowship hall. And they were using that coffee cart to bring the students from PCC to come over and have a place of fellowship and do some homework. And man, I tried to sell that thing year after year. They had spent about $30,000 on it. And I couldn't get rid of this coffee cart just sitting there taking up all this space. So a friend of mine, Brett Pryor, co-founder of what's called Rose City Coffee, our training program for homeless youth, him and I sat down and one day realized, oh, wow, this coffee cart just sitting here could be repurposed. And we could use this in order to, come alongside the youth that we're trying to help and teach them how to make coffee, like really good coffee. So we had this idea. Now, of course, coming from my background in pastoral work, I know nothing of coffee other than I love it and I drink it at Starbucks. That's all I had at the time. But at that time, third wave coffee was beginning to explode here in downtown LA. And so Brett, my friend, and I realized, oh man, this is the perfect time to get involved in the coffee scene, because Stumptown was coming, Blue Bottle was coming, Intelligentsia had just arrived, and we met some guys of a coffee shop in the arts district of downtown LA called Handsome Coffee. 3 guys that came out of Intelligentsia. Michael Phillips, I remember amazing guy. So we're like, we know nothing of coffee. We know we've got this cart. We want to reuse this cart to help these youth that we met on the street and in this parking lot. So we went down there and talked to them, and they said, no problem, we got you. So we then started to learn how to make coffee from Handsome Coffee, this brand new coffee shop down in LA. And they came over to the space, saw it, looked at our coffee cart and said, okay, what you need is this, this, and this. So make sure you get a La Marzocco espresso machine. You need a Linea. So at that point, I realized, okay, all right, we're getting this. We wrote a coffee training manual, and that began what we called Rose City Coffee. From there, we went back to the nonprofits because when I had to disband that group of youth, because I had taken it too far, we needed to get them to healthier places where they could really flourish. So we went to the nonprofits here in Pasadena, and there's amazing nonprofits. Spoke to them and set up this partnership, a relationship, so that they would recommend to us some youth ready for training. We'd bring them into the church cafe, and we'd get them set up on this training at the coffee cart. And then we found some baristas in Pasadena at the different coffee shops called Vita, all sorts of different cafes here, and we pulled them together, and they started to volunteer their time to meet with the youth and work with them one-on-one. And so we've been doing that for about 5 years or so. And again, here I am, coming in, no people in the church, but realizing, wow, with the right kinds of friends, anything is really possible. So that's kind of the story that then led to where we are now, which is Rosebud Coffee, which is the cafe that we dreamed to opened about 5 months ago. But to say a few things, kind of what I learned along the way is, so we all here know about networking, and we all know about friendship, and we all know about how to connect with people. So I think in that sense, I'm speaking to the choir. But I think what I could say is along the way, I've learned how to find really good friends. So not necessarily friends that, let's say, have money and they're ready to help you, but friends that are full of integrity. Because I think if you think about it, the one thing that's going to make a healthy friendship possible is someone with integrity. They're honest, they're truthful, they're authentic to who they are. I mean, if we think about, let's say, the Great Recession that happened, a few years ago, the opposite of integrity is what led to that. Greed, lies, anything that would make it possible just to get that extra dollar. But what we lost in that was just the sense of a healthy integrity between relationships. The other thing I've learned through the friendships that we've had helping make this possible would be those that are focused on diligence. You see, part of this kind of third wave coffee that popped up, in LA and now has spread out to East Pasadena and beyond, is this sense of craft coffee, right? It's where someone is taking the coffee bean and they're looking at where it's sourced from. They're looking at the farmers that come alongside to make that possible. And then when they start roasting it, they're roasting it to the best flavor profile they can find. So they're doing their diligence, their due diligence on it. They're putting in that hard work. And so that was something we began to show to the youth as well. The most transformative moments we have with our youth is when they're going through the training program and they're doing this hard work and they're beginning to see that what they're doing is a craft that can produce something amazing and something beautiful. Our youth have that transformative moment when all of a sudden they've made this Rosetta, this latte art, and they've handed it to a customer, and that customer looks at it and is like, wow, this is amazing, and they just light up, and all of a sudden they just know that they've done something for the first time for many of them that's productive, and it's offering something else to the community. So that diligence, finding friends that put that hard work in with you has been important for us. And then the last kind of, I think, characteristic of a good friend, that social capital, right, that makes these dreams possible, would be generosity. being willing to just share what you have. Generous, even if you have very little, with that little. And you get to watch how far that goes. So after doing this coffee training for about 4 or 5 years, I'm still in the same boat. We still have our volunteers coming in, and everyone's just giving what they can, doing their diligence, being generous with their time. And we just realized that, wow, to get this to a sustaining place, we needed to find a brick and mortar so that we could begin to employ. And then we could have a full staff. And that staff can, take this to the long haul. So at that point, we're like, okay, how in the world are we going to take this small startup and turn it into a full cafe? Well, thankfully, as a pastor, I have a very generous congregation. So we started there with pulling our resources together to raise some capital. A very generous denomination, so that was amazing too. But then when it came to the stuff on the ground, like where in the world are we going to open this cafe? How are we going to get it renovated? And what are those pieces going to look like? That's when new friends came along who were very generous with their time, their talents. In fact, on my son's t-ball team, I met a friend of mine, and I was just sharing, about what we're up to, this dream we had of opening this cafe for the youth so we can employ them. And immediately he just fell in love with it. And just so happened that he's a project manager for a major construction company. It's his job to help Uber and Google find their next headquarters and renovate it. And he's like, oh, yeah, I got you. Don't worry. We can do this. Okay. So now we got to find a space. Here I've got a project manager with all the construction company and architects that we needed access to. People obviously not in my world. And then we're looking for a space, and man, it's hard to find a space here in Pasadena, as we all know. But we found some very strange friends over at the health department. So we're looking. We can't, very different. And all of a sudden, one day I get a call from the health department. This is the City of Pasadena Health Department. And they said, hey, Elaine said, hey, Dan, I think we found a space for you. Wait, what? So she had gone her rounds as a field rep to, check on the different cafes and, make sure they're all up to code and all of that good stuff. And there just so happened to be a space in East Pasadena for a company called Chirp. And Chirp does these private parties for kids. That's what they're there for. And she had just done the inspection and found out that Chirp was looking for someone to sublease the space because their parties were happening on the weekends and at nights, and this space, massive space, was just sitting there open Monday through Friday. So the health department calls and says, hey, I think you should meet with her and check out this space and see if it would be a good fit for what you guys are doing with the cafe, or wanting to do with the cafe. And she knew what I was looking for. That's a long story of a couple of failures, especially with the health department. But she said, hey, come take it out. So I got to meet Jen, the owner of Chirp, and that set us on this new partnership to open Rosebud Coffee. So then Rosebud opens 5 months ago, and now we're just learning what it looks like to be a cafe here in Pasadena. We're looking at what it looks like to host the events that really will help others flourish, so community events. And we've been already taking in some youth. We've got Charlene. She trained with us last spring, and so she's working with us now. We have an intern from Rose City High School, the continuation school down the road on Del Mar and Lake Avenue. And we have a young intern out of APU who came from the foster system and going through college. And he's doing some amazing work. So we get to sit here now with this space and just watch people flourish. And what made that possible for us were the friends that we met along the way. And not just anyone, but some really amazing people. And just learned how to open up our life to that. Now, I feel like, again, I'm preaching to the choir. So transitioning to our Q&A, I actually had a question for all of you. Yeah. Because I know I'm not alone in this kind of social enterprise, right? Taking business, taking what you love to do, and offering it up for others that they may flourish, up to the community, that the community that surrounds you may flourish. So I wanted to hear what you're up to. Because if I think, I'm taking a gamble here. This may be my trip. I may stumble, but I would love to hear in your workplace, maybe it's your business, maybe it's just personally, but what way are you helping others flourish around you? Because I think we'll be surprised to find out that all of us in some way are up to this. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Michael to see if you could tell your story of helping someone flourish through your workplace. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to hear what's going on because I know I'm not alone in this.
Okay. I think that's a really cool thing, Dan, that you just proposed. We've never done that before, so we'll maybe dedicate about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
John will walk around with the mic. This is not the Q&A. This is an opportunity for you to share your story relative to what Dan just said. And I'll start off by saying something really simple.
Yes.
I've been developing a nutrition app for a while, and I shared that with USC software engineers with the Viterbi program. They will definitely get shout-outs. I still have all the resumes, all their names, as we've developed this thing over the years. So that's something that I actually discovered that opportunity through Friday Coffee Meetup in Innovate Pasadena, where to go, what questions to ask, who to talk to, and how to plug in. So something along those lines. If you have a brief story to tell, 5 minutes, John will walk around with the mic. If you want to share, raise your hand.
Well, for about 15 years, I've been involved in a summer camp in Big Bear for kids in LA County foster care.
Wow.
So really, like, they're ages 8 to 11.
Yes.
So maybe precursors to kids that would be working in your coffee shop, and it's 1 week a year, and it's been the joy of my life for
Awesome.
15 years, right? And you kind of defused my hopes, frankly, though, with one of your first or second lines when you said, I'm not going to tell you how to sort of make a sustainable living doing this work. So I was like, all right, well, I'm still going to sit here and listen to his inspiring story. So that's exactly where I am. And my passion is, like, where do my kids go, when I've given them a great wilderness experience, but then they're dropped off into the economy at 18, sort of with no guidance and mentorship. And then finding volunteers is really hard.
Okay.
Take a week off work.
And we could talk about that. But just real quick on that, just to say, because once you find all the money in the world, you still have to find good friends. So you might as well start there.
My name is Will Walls, and I help small business owners increase sales through the language of sales. So here's what I'm outing myself about doing. Tomorrow night, I'm doing a comedy show, and I'm going to be talking about the similarities of dating and sales. And I'm going to improv this. I'm not going to know what I'm going to say. Two subjects that I think I know a little bit about. So I'm going to improv this, so I'm going to bring laughter to the world. And if you want to know where the show is, you have to go to my website, increaseinnovator.com or iamtheproduct.com, and I'm going to post where the show is going to be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
He's amazing.
Awesome. We've got a comedy open mic coming up at Rosebud. Love to have you there. More stories, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my name is Bryant Galindo. For the last 2.5 years, I've been building a brand called Workplace Collaborations. I partner with startup entrepreneurs and co-founders in teaching them my methodology called collaborative disagreement, which is how can you disagree with someone and still remain friends at the end of the day. So
Yes, I love that.
So one of the things that really popped up was that I've been working with this co-founder for the last 4 months, and she's been wanting to have this difficult conversation regarding equity restructuring with her co-founder. And working with her and teaching my methodology, she finally successfully had that conversation 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And told me, wow, because of you, you made this so easy. My anxiety was through the roof, and you helped me get there. And you're making people better, not to toot my own horn, but just to go in line with
Thank you,
that.
Brian. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. That's awesome.
Back here.
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron Wheeler. I'm going to tell you, my wife and my kids, we live right down the street, and so they go there all the time. And it's a wonderful spot. I love it. And the other thing that he didn't point out is that fact that the coffee that they sell actually goes to what's the
So it goes to the
organization?
Foothill Unity Center,
Right.
yeah, to help with the food bank. So every aspect of our cafe has a social enterprise behind it.
Right. So what I'm going to tell you, which
Yeah.
you don't actually know, Dan.
Okay.
Is, right. It's actually everyone knows I have my hands in a little bit of everything around here, but I actually sit on the Business Entrepreneurship Academy at MIR.
Oh.
And we just
awesome.
started a Golden Cafe where we're teaching kids how to be baristas and
Yes.
teach coffee business. So I'm doing it on the north side while you're doing it on the east side, buddy.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I just found a new best friend. I love it. Yeah.
Hi, good morning. My name is John Bogdanoff, and amongst some of the other things that I do, I host a board game called Cash Flow, which was created by Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And what that game does is it teaches financial literacy and how to generate and maintain passive income, as well as entrepreneurship and several other things. But that's one of the things that I'm doing to help give back and help others.
Wonderful. Thank you. That is awesome.
Anybody else like to share? Oh, a couple up here.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Holmes, and the group that I've been getting the most support from is Transition Pasadena, and I see so many people growing in that group because we're all doing whatever we think is the best for building resilience in the city of Pasadena.
Yeah.
And I actually came prepared today.
All right.
I have these new postcards. They're not actually to go in the post, but about how Pasadena, our goal is for Pasadena to be at 100% renewable energy by 2035, because by then renewables will be cheaper than fossil fuels.
Wow.
So if you take a picture of this and send it to your
Wow.
city council member or Pasadena Water and Power, that will help us reach our goal.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Or you could just give it
Oh,
to
council
Andy
member.
right here.
Uh-oh. It wasn't me, Annie. It wasn't me.
Hi, I'm Doreen Allen, and my husband and I have a business called Sagest. We've traditionally been making beautiful museum books, but we recently have rebranded, and we've been inspired by millennials to do, and mainly right now, they're children's books that are socially aware. So we have a series out on homelessness that we're working on, one on global warming, and one on sanctuaries and rescues.
Awesome. Wow, keeps going. I love it.
More than 5 minutes, huh? Well, so my name's Jason, and I just want to say I really appreciate you sharing what you shared with me today. Something that I'm coming around to from the opposite side of what it sounds like many of you are, in the sense that I've spent the past 2-3 years building a business that looks really great on paper and feels unfulfilling. And
Wow.
one of the reasons why I think at the core of it is really about connection and about community.
Yeah.
And so for all of you who are going down that path and thinking that money is the answer and that it's not, and I know we all know that, but I'm really in the meat of that right now. So what I've been doing is actually starting to coach entrepreneurs, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here, and I love being around all of you because I believe in what you're all doing, and I've found so much joy in sitting down with other people, and it's been very fulfilling to me. So,
Thank you, Jason.
for what it's worth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're also going to open up to Q&A if anybody has any questions. Let me get.
And just a quick comment just to say, like, thank you. It's happening. It is happening. You guys are already there. So maybe just an encouragement to say, kind of in the time of mingling and networking afterwards, ask those deeper questions of who you're helping, how you're coming alongside to help people flourish. And I think those partnerships, those relationships, those conversations that you have here with people will actually go a lot further than if we just keep it at that surface level.
Over here, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a psychotherapist, and I work with a group that I think would be very interested in connecting with yours. It's called Sync Counseling. Have you heard of them?
I have not.
Curtis
No,
Miller?
No.
Well, it's a Christian based, and I'm the only I'm a Christian, but I'm a Buddhist, and I'm everything. So I don't really fit in there. I've been that way. But Curtis is part of the Lake Street Church. I think a lot of them go there.
Okay.
Them.
Yeah.
Us. We. But it's a very socially aware, amazing group of therapists that teach non-interference, basically. Let the person, respect the person. But what I was going to say is, under that, I have a business called Relationship Navigation.
Okay.
And to me, that's like the crux of everything.
Right.
Like if we could, and it's what you're talking about, because if we can learn how to have a relationship that's connected but not codependent, then all these things can happen. So it's very foundational. Yeah. So it all fits in with everything you're saying.
That's very encouraging. Thank you. We should touch base more.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to connect you with Curtis, because they could really get involved, and they have.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chuck Chu Gumlang, and for the past 3 years, I've been I'm a graphic designer, first of all, but for the past 3 years, I've been focusing specifically on how I can be more spiritual in my design practice.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm developing a product that's a technology product, an IoT device that promotes art therapy as in a kaleidoscope format, and my goal is to help alleviate some of those anxieties, depressions, and symptoms of those ailments such as PTSD, depression, any of those sort of mental symptoms, and my goal is to help alleviate in some way through my technology and some of those
yeah, that's powerful.
Things.
That's really powerful.
Does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask Dan?
Yeah. I'm just so excited about that, though.
Have you heard of network effects?
No.
Okay, so at least in the startup world, like network effects is like how Uber, Airbnb, like kind of were able to scale really fast.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what you're talking about is like leveraging like your relationships to do that. And so one of the topics in my mind is how do network effects backfire on people? And so I'm wondering, from your perspective, does social capital ever have its own, I guess, hindrances that actually end up costing you something in the long run?
Yeah, great question. I think the very first thing that comes to mind is just the difficulty, especially for entrepreneurs, to say no. In order to say yes to something greater. And so as you network and as you meet people, everyone's coming with their agenda. And so kind of how do you navigate that, and just being very discerning on how to do that, I think is the best way. Now, how do you discern? Well, I think it's usually, for me, not just about blocking and shutting it down, but also not just about saying yes and accepting it as it is and then it overwhelming you, right? But it's about how does the what's presented be brought into the larger story you're living into. And so how do you, in a sense, over-accept it? And so I think as we discern and as we filter the relationships that come and the agendas that come with that and the projects that they have, just learning how to navigate that by not just a shutdown, right? Or just a full yes, but that middle space, right, where what we're up to can be brought into something much greater than ourselves, and that's the give and take. That's the kind of compromise that we all have to. So you have to stay on that mission that you've got, and the same mission that they've got, and then you're just looking, in a sense, for that win-win by, again, not full blocking or full acceptance, but something in between. Relational discernment. Yeah.
Hi. I have two questions.
Okay.
So first one is just curious because why the name Rosebud? Because this reminds me of Citizen Kane.
Yes. Yes, great. Yeah. So quick story on that. While we're doing the coffee training, we've got the one big cart that we're training the youth on, but I had to find a way to sustain it financially, and so we developed a smaller cart that we would take to do like private events and use that money to keep the program going. But that smaller cart we called Rosebud. We called the big one Rosie and the smaller one Rosebud. So when it was time to move, we took the little cart over to the cafe, so that it went from cart to cafe, and we decided to name the cafe after the small cart, Rosebud.
That's pretty cool. So I have a second question is kind of bundle of questions. I hail from India, and there we don't have homeless. We have people who have little money, or we have something called beggars.
Yeah.
And for most of them, it's a gang thing, and it's a profession. Like they have lots of money. It's a profession for them. Yeah. So I was, being a writer also, I was thinking of writing something when I moved to LA. And I was like, why these guys can't make something? Whereas you have come up with something. I mean, you have implemented what I was thinking about. I was thinking of coming up with a samosa where they can make it, everybody loves it, and but then I was faced that they have an attitude problem. They don't want to work. And then I have my own struggle, and I just gave up.
Yeah.
I didn't proceed.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you proceeded, and you are inspiring me, and I'm really touch moved and inspired.
Oh, great.
And so you are targeting only the youth, not the other ages.
Correct.
How you change their attitude.
Correct. Yeah. So we do focus on youth just because that's our story, right? And there's amazing things happening in the city of Pasadena on homelessness. I do sit on a city committee, Pasadena City Committee, that works on gathering faith communities in homelessness. So I also work in that world on the much larger issues. But when it comes to the youth in particular, the best way I can say it is the transformation for the youth comes when they recognize they have something amazing to give to society, right? So the youth that we've worked with have always received, right? So they're always kind of just taking, and they haven't had the imagination to step into the community and to say, here I am, and here's what I have to offer. So if there's any encouragement, it's to say to help them find that passion, because and also I love the idea of the creative graphics arts, because the language of youth today is art. And so part of it too is it's just creativity, and which is where you guys all flourish, right? As entrepreneurs is in creativity and thinking creatively. So it's helping that youth creatively find what's in them, and then having the opportunity to learn the skill and the trade to turn it into a product that others receive and give feedback on. That's the experience we've had with it. But you got to be able to speak that creative heart language. So for us, it's like latte art, right? So that it's something special there that happens. And so if you're looking for a youth today that's struggling, find what their artistic, creative heart is about. And it may not just be like, painting or something like that, but it could be a craft. It could be something like that. And that's, coming alongside teaching them that is what will then begin to unlock on inside what they have to offer the community at whole.
Okay, so. I would love to teach how to make samosa.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we should talk more.
Dan, one more question.
Okay.
I'll lead with my question, which is, what is like your first actionable first step in starting something like this? Because anytime, so I obviously have huge dreams of helping people, and I have this grand life plan. It's like 10 years in the making, and everyone is like, oh well, I just met the right people, the right things happened, and so it's like my to-do list looks like wait for right people to show up into my life. So what is the first actionable step?
Yeah. First actionable step would be to just start with who you already know. Not wait for that person, But if you have a passion, you have something that you feel will help others flourish, be vulnerable enough to share that with the people you know. People you already trust. You don't have to do the work of creating that relationship, that friendship, but you have to open your heart, that vulnerability, so that they know that that's there. And the people that are already surrounding you, the people that already care about you and love you and trust you, are the ones that will come and say, okay, yeah, let's go to now second step. I can't tell you what the second step is without kind of knowing what that passion is, but the first step is sharing it with your friends, the people that already care about you.
All right, and that wraps it up.
Okay.
Give a big hand to Dan.